Hey dolls and friends, welcome back and thanks so much for spending part of your day with me. If you're new here, my name is Amber Michon and I do weekly farmhouse inspired high-end DIYs using majority of Dollar Tree and other budget friendly items. But if you're not new, hey doll, hey! So in today's video, I have 5 brand new high-end, extremely easy and extremely inexpensive DIYs for you. This video is also sponsored by Cricut and I want to give them a big thank you and shout out for continuing to help support my channel. And I appreciate all of you out there coming and watching my videos each week. This has been such a fun crafting season for me this Christmas, so I really hope you guys do enjoy these DIYs. I absolutely love how they turned out, and I feel like over the last few videos I've been saying I've outdone myself, and I promise y'all this time I think I did. My Kirkland's dupe was really good, but these ones that just came from my mind are just really awesome. I absolutely love them. So if you do enjoy it, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, as it definitely helps out my channel. If you're new, love what you see, but also love all things home decor, DIY on a budget, I would also love if you would consider subscribing and hitting the bell right next to it so you're notified every time that I upload. All right, dolls, let's go ahead and jump right in. For my first DIY today, I'm making this Joy to the World sign. So from Dollar Tree, I'm using one of their shadow box beaded hanger signs. I got this during the fall season. I took the backing out, or the sign out, tried to take the paper off, didn't work. I know there's different ways to do it, but I just covered mine with brown craft paper. It was the easiest to do, and just use hot glue and cut off the excess. Then I'm going to paint the front of this sign using my ink chalk paint from Waverly, and I gave that 2 coats. Now to get that gorgeous image in the middle, I'm going to go to Design Space for my Cricut. And I wanted to show you guys a different way to bring together a phrase that you may not can find in the images. So the first thing I did is go to text to type out the phrase that I want, and I chose my particular font that I liked. This one for Joy and World is Bayamo, and I just duplicated the word joy so that way I can get it and didn't have to do another text. Then I added another text, and for my to the is going to be this pine wood, and I just put those together because I'm going to attach and group all of these. Next, I went to images to search mistletoe. I wanted to get a mistletoe image to put on the side of this phrase, and I chose the one that best went with what I'm going to do as far as having it on a stencil. I've been really loving using stencil vinyl and cardstock, so these DIYs today are going to be mainly that. So once I have the image that I chose, I sized it up, put it in the right spot that I wanted to, duplicated that image, and then put one on the opposite side. Now to make this one entire image after everything is resized, I select everything, go to the top right corner, click group. That way the image is all one. Then I right click the image to attach it. This way, when I go to cut this out, it cuts as one image. So then I go to the top right corner, click make it. And as you can see here, it's sorted on the mat as one image and not several different images broken up. And then now Cricut, once you go to make it, it tells you to plug it in. I have to plug my maker in, and then I go to all materials to set my base material, which is stencil vinyl, and then I click more for my pressure and cut that out on my stencil vinyl. Now that everything is cut out and it's weeded, I just put my transfer tape right on top, burnish that over, and then put it on top on the front of my surface, which is going to be my black sign now. Then I just go ahead and smooth that out to make sure I don't have any bubbles and take my transfer tape off. And now I'm going to use three different colors of paint. I use my Waverly chalk paint in white and in crimson. So my white is going to be to the world. Those are the words that are going to be white. My joy is going to be red. And then I used this acrylic forest moss paint from folk art to paint my greenery, like the mistletoe, and then I just do like the red dots, and I just use some small paint brushes so I can get right in there and I don't have too much bleeding. I had a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. It makes it look a little bit more, you know, like farmhouse weathered kind of rustic look. After everything is dry, I just pull up my stencil and weed out everything else that I need to get weeded out, and then I just put my picture basically back into the frame, and that's it for this one. So pretty. I absolutely love this. It was so easy and it's so high-end looking. The next DIY is this snowflake sign decor. So from Dollar Tree, actually I got this from Dollar General, is this trick or treat sign, and I think it was $2. And then I have this scrapbook paper. It says Merry Christmas all over it from Hobby Lobby. So I really like this sign because it can stand on its own. I do take off the or word because it's like a block, so it's raised, and then I just have to scrape off some of the glue that's on there. No big deal. Then I paint the sign white. Even though I'm going to cover it with the brown craft paper, I didn't want any of the orange or anything to show through. So then I just trace out the length and the width of the sign and cut that down using my Cricut paper trimmer. It gives me really straight lines, and I'm not the best at cutting a straight line. So yeah, then after that, I just paint this. I give this one good coat. I don't really let this dry all the way before I put my scrapbook paper on there, but you choose what you want to do. I also painted the edges too, because you could see like the cardboard edge of it or the MDF edge of it. Then I take some Mod Podge. This is matte Mod Podge, and I apply a generous amount directly on to the sign board and smooth out my paper. There are several different ways you can apply Mod Podge in your paper or whatever. Choose what you like and what works for you. This worked best fine for me. I didn't have any bubbles. Then I went into Design Space to pick out my images. I just went directly to images and typed in snowflake because I wanted this just to be as easy and simple as possible. I searched until I found one that I liked, clicked add to canvas, and then I unlocked it so that way I can put in the dimensions that I already had on here. Once I was able to do that, I selected my color. It's not white, it's more of like an ivory color, but I couldn't find ivory and I just didn't feel like doing all that, so I just picked white. Then I right-clicked the image to duplicate it 4 more times, and because this is not one image, I just went up to make it, and it's sorted on my mat in 1 row, and then went to set my base material, which is cardstock, and it cut out. And here are my images, and I have been loving using cardstock lately, y'all. It's such an unforgiving product, and it's so easy to work with. And yes, those are crayon marks on my cardstock because Isaiah was just thought that it was drawing paper. So to get this up, I just slowly lifted it up and used my Cricut tool to get all of the other pieces out that I needed to weed out. Once all of my snowflakes were out, I took my finger sander to my sign to get more of a farmhouse charm look to it. So I sanded down the edges of my paper because I had paper hanging over. You always want to make sure you have a little bit hanging over so you know your sign is covered completely. Then I just went to town with the sanding to get that nice weathered edges and on the inside, and I really love how it turned out. Then I positioned my snowflakes on the face of my sign and applied them with my super glue gel. And I just put super glue gel right on the tips of the snowflakes, not on all the way around. And I used a pencil to, smash it down or like adhere it to the paper because you will get it on your fingers. And it's not fun getting, super glue gel on your fingers. I mean, it does come off, but yeah, it's not fun. So after that was done, I took this gray and white baker's twine that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and I wrapped it around the top and the bottom. But as I'm wrapping it around, I'm realizing I wanted something else to contrast everything. So I have these bells from the Dollar Tree. They're red, but I decided to paint them black. And because I had a subscriber tell me to put my letters on some tape when I paint them, I decided to do the same thing with these bells, and it worked like a charm. So I'm letting those dry, and I just put the rest of my baker's twine on the bottom of my sign, just wrapping it around. And then I fished through my yarn or my twine on to my bells. I tie them off. I tie the string off like after I put the bell on there so that it stays and it doesn't, slide down and everything, because I had just a formation that I wanted to put them in that little 3-prong, look that bells are supposed to look in. And then I wrap it around and then adhere it with hot glue, cut it off, and that's it for this one. So easy, y'all. Cardstock is so beautiful to work with, or so easy to work with, but this project is so beautiful. I really, really like it. Next up, we're making another favorite of mine, this Christmas block. So from Dollar Tree, I picked up 3 of their craft wood blocks. Not sure what size this is, y'all. I forgot, but I just picked up 3 of them. I first removed the tag off of the wood pieces, and then I'm going to measure these out. So I kind of eyeballed my measurements. I didn't really go into a plan with it, but I knew that I wanted them to be stacked, not zigzag, but not even. So I think I did 1 3/4 inches for the middle one, and then 2.5 for the third one. So once I marked that down, I used my miter saw box to cut it down. These are all my pieces, and then I'm just going to sand down the edges so that way they are nice and smooth. Then I stacked the 3 on top of each other to make sure that it looks the way that I want. And I'm using my white and moss chalk paint from Waverly, and I'm going to give these just one good coat on 3 sides. I don't think that I painted the bottom of the boards or the wood pieces. I did have to go back and give another paint of white coat because it was too like opaque. I needed it more of a white color. But once everything was dry, then I took my sanding block that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I sanded down all 3 of these blocks to get my nice farmhouse charm look. I just kept going until my eyes were happy with the look of it, mainly focusing on the corners and the edges to get a nice weathered rustic look. Once all those are done and I just set those aside, I'm going to go into Cricut Design Space. Now, I want to show you guys a different way to get your projects and everything. So I went up to the right corner at the top and clicked projects. I had already made this. This is my font that I used for this project. Now you have 2 ways to do this. You can either click customize and you can change it. Because I'm using 2 different colored vinyls for this, these are not grouped together. So then you can change it if you want. If not, all you have to do is go back to projects, click on your project, and there's an option to click make it. Once you click make it, it'll automatically sort on your mat. But because these are 2 different vinyl colors, I am going to move my object to another mat and choose the color that I'm using. Now, I'm sure there's another way to do this. You could put 2 different colored vinyls on one mat, but this is the way that I do it. It's the easiest way. It's the less stressful way. So yeah. And then once I'm done with that, I just click vinyl for my base material and more for my pressure, and it cuts out for me. Once I have it transferred over to my transfer tape, then I'm going to apply it to my blocks. Silly me, I started to apply my vinyl before I glued my blocks together, my stacked blocks. So yeah, I hot glued it together and then just applied my Merry Christmas phrase on to the white middle block and the last green block. And I really, really love the way that this is coming together. So for my top green block, I decided to take a small paintbrush and take the back of it and just do some like polka dots all over it to make it kind of look like snow was falling on it. I think it's just a really cute added touch to it that just gives it a little bit more contrast. So then after that is done, I take some burlap that I got this huge spool from burlapfabric.com. They sent it to me last Christmas and I still have tons left. So I measured out how wide my stacked blocks were and took my rotary blade and just cut all the way down. I did like a really long piece to make sure that I had enough to wrap around. So after that was done, I took off some of the sides so it get more of like a serrated edge or like fluffy edge of my burlap. Then I hot glued the bottom of my stack blocks onto the top of the burlap, and then took the rest of the burlap and tied it into a bow at the top so it kind of looks like stacked presents. And I just kind of messed with the bow until I was happy with the size of it and the shape of it and everything like that. Then I took some glitter boxwood greenery, took off some of the stem pieces and just placed them onto the side of my bows until I was happy with the look of it. And then I have these large berries that I got from the Dollar Tree. It looks like they were like have snow on it. They're like snowy berries. So I just cut off 3 of them and just hot glued them right onto the front of my bow. And then I just hot glued the rest of my greenery in place. And that's it for this one. I really, really, really love how this came out. I am way more pleased with it, the finished product, than I was going into it. It is just so pretty, and it definitely looks like you can buy this in like Kirkland's or Hobby Lobby. I really love it. Next up, I am making this house village. Super simple, y'all. So from Dollar Tree, I have these house shelves. I have 4 of them, and then I have some scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby. So the first thing I did is just remove the screws. So I did not know these were screwed in when I bought them. I just was like, oh, houses, definitely got to buy them. That's a must. So just unscrew them. It takes a little bit of time because they are in there. But once everything is out, I'm just going to paint the bottom part of the shelves using my ink chalk paint, and I just did 1 coat for each one and made sure I did all of the edges and the sides as well. Then I took my scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby and traced out the houses. So I have this fa la 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 paper, and then I have this, I don't want to call it geometric, but it kind of looks like a plaid kind of print scrapbook paper. Anyways, I did 2 houses of each for these patterns. Then I used my matte Mod Podge, applied a generous amount onto my surface, and then smoothed out my paper right on top. And I let that dry actually overnight because I put a lot of Mod Podge on there. Then I came back with my finger sander and sanded down all of the edges. I treated this exactly like the Snowflake sign DIY. Although I just focused on the edges on here, I did not go into the middle of the house at all. Kind of wanted to keep that a little bit more intact, smooth, and modern. So, yep, this is what it looks like after I'm done. Now I have all of my pieces ready to assemble. So I ended up only using 3 of the 4 shelf pieces because I was stacking these in a staggered way, I guess you would say. So I went to my trusty old super glue gel to attach everything. Because I'm not screwing these back in, I needed and wanted to make sure that these had a really good hold to them, and hot glue was not going to do that for me, and I just didn't feel like waiting for the wood glue to dry. So super glue gel was a go-to. So once I glued those 3 pieces together, I just arranged my houses the way that I wanted. And then I'm also going to use these beaded wreaths that I got from Hobby Lobby. They're so cute. I really, really love them. Then I use the same super glue gel that you can get from the Dollar Tree and attach all of my houses. I just attached them on the edges, and you guys, these stay. You got to make sure that you put a little pressure on this and hold it in place so that it will stay, but it stays and it is sturdy. Then I took those beaded mini wreaths, cut off the string on top because they're like little mini ornaments, and I just hot glued them directly towards the top of the houses. I thought I only wanted to put 2, but I put all 4 on them, and I'm glad I did because this piece is so gorgeous. I absolutely love this, and it's still really pretty and functional to put some items on there, some smaller items to hang, but you can definitely hang this as well as sit this on a table. This one is super stunning and might be my favorite. For my last DIY today, I'm making this holiday wood round. So I got this 12-inch wood round from Amazon, and I'm going to paint this with my Waverly chalk paint in white. So this is the easiest way to use Design Space for me. You're going to go to the canvas, go to images, and then type in the phrase that you want. For me, it's Merry Christmas. And then I just kind of search along until I come across something that I'm really happy with, that I really love, and that will fit the base or the material that I'm using to display. So I chose this one that I absolutely love, and then I just put in the dimensions for this. I put 12 by 12 because it was a 12-inch wood round, but it'll tell you on the right corner that it's too big for your mat. So I had to change it to 11 by 11, which is totally fine. And then once I did that, I clicked make it. And I'm also using stencil vinyl for this, but I'm actually using stencil film because I got it from Expressions vinyl, and it's called stencil film. So I decided to choose that because that's what it is. I'm not one to like choose something that's not what it is because I'm just afraid that it might not cut correctly. So yeah. So once my image was cut out, I just weeded everything out. And yeah, pretty much that's it. Then just applied my transfer tape right on top. Burnish that and then put that on the front of my wood round. I still had a border around it, so I thought that I was going to paint the border maybe black or brown or something like that, but I decided against that. That's definitely something you can do, is like paint the border around it because it's a perfect circle for you to do that, but I decided not to do it. So then for my painting, I'm going to use my Waverly chalk paint in crimson and moss, and I am just painting the phrase Merry Christmas with that crimson color, and then I am painting the greenery. Anything that looks like greenery to me is going to be that moss green color, and then those like little, I want to call them starbursts, but it's almost like they're exclamation marks. I painted that using my hazelnut chalk paint color, and that was the perfect color for this. Let me tell you, I was a little bit skeptical when I put it down and saw all of these colors, and it just didn't seem like it went. But once I pulled back that film after everything dried, oh my goodness, it turned out so nice. The other thing I did want to say is that I actually put this film on here when my paint was still a little bit wet, the white paint, so it pulled up some of the paint, which was exactly what I wanted. I wanted more of that weathered look. I did forget to paint the border, but I did remember that I just ordered some more of these half wood beads, so I glued that around the edge of it, and this is so pretty. I really love this wood round. It is going into my collection of Christmas wood rounds for this year. Alright dolls, that's all I have for you today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give me a big thumbs up and make sure you are following me on Instagram and Facebook. I would love to see your recreations and give you a shout out there and here on YouTube. Other than that, be blessed, stay safe, and I will see y'all on the next one. Bye!